Welcome to the fight game. He's Icewater, I'm Puma. First of all, this is sponsored by Rayon Cognac. Join the movement. And we want to salute Shakur Stevenson on a wonderful masterclass last night. So cheers, champ. All right, let's talk about the fight. And so I watched the fight last night, and last week I said I thought Shakur was going to come out and be aggressive, but he was aggressive with the jab. He was really putting that jab in Lopez's face. And it just seems like Lopez and his corner had no answers. And I think I texted you last night saying he needs to change the corner, because when you come back to the corner and your dad is saying, you got to hit him, bro. He couldn't find him. He was too slow, and saying, where's all the strength? Where's the eye of the tiger? You don't need to hear that in your corner. You need to hear a strategy on how to get to Shakur Stevenson. But it just seems like Lopez had no strategy to get to him. He couldn't jab his way in. He was leaning too much, and he was getting tapped with that jab and different punches. And his face kind of kept the score of what was happening during that fight. So your thoughts on your adopted son, Shakur Stevenson? I know that's your boy. Go ahead, man. You got the floor. I'm just going to steer in the corner and just let you just go at it.
The one thing about Shakur Stevenson is this. There's so many people that wanted to see him fight differently, right? They always said he was light, he ran, he's more of a defensive fighter. But what I would always try to tell people is the factor that, to me, a great fighter or boxer is a guy that adjusts depending on the opponent. Muhammad Ali did it for years, and I'm not trying to compare him to Ali or even Mayweather. But you saw Terence Crawford when he fought Canelo, and wasn't sure whether or not Terence Crawford could handle Canelo. But he found a way to change the style, do what he needed to do in order to get this done. And this is what Shakur did, right? You saw before we fought this previous fight, he stood in the pocket and he was right there because everybody was seeing him fight. Then he comes up in here against Teofimo Lopez, and Lopez is a really solid fighter. And it was a master class. What we mean by this, you were dominated by your opponent. That is definitely what Teofimo Lopez faced. Shakur Stevenson was the best of himself. And we saw that from that standpoint, where he literally dominated, as you mentioned, with the jab. And there was nothing that Teofimo Lopez could do. And then, as you mentioned about changing the corner, right? But that's been the corner since he's been boxing, his dad. So we don't change all of a sudden because it don't work. You ain't never been in that position before, Ronnie. Really, right? Since maybe the amateurs. So instead of just saying that maybe it was so horrible, maybe give Shakur his just due. He was amazing, dude. He was on it. He just boop, 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 boop. I mean, he was on it. Maybe if he did lose a round, but he was so dominant. And we sometimes people get so caught up in the old school Mike Tyson era where you got to knock a dude like you're an ogre or some animal. You got to knock him out with flair. But as you mentioned earlier, to see the way that Teofimo Lopez's face was carved up, you saw the damage yourself. Those take punches. Shakur was on point last night. And the other part that I really love for him, as we talk about other things too, is he came in, you mentioned it before, his preparation was amazing. He came in on point. He was in the gym with Bud Crawford. Probably had to be in the gym a little bit to get some advice from Andre Ward. Spent some time with Floyd Mayweather. Also, Clarissa Shields was in his ear. And we'll talk about this when we talk about the next fight. And the factor that Shakur is so disciplined and came in and executed a major exclusive plan for what they wanted to do, also, to me, in my humble opinion, had a direct effect on Keyshawn Davis, who needed to get some more discipline in his life. And watching some of the shows and some of the other documentaries that I saw leading up to that camp or in that camp, they were working together, preparing, sparring with each other. If you go back and you see some of the sparring, Shakur had a little mouse under his eye. which means he's putting work in. He could have got that from Keyshawn, could have got that from Bud Crawford. But the fact that all this collective group came together to make sure that he was ready, along with helping Keyshawn got a little love, that shows you how having good people around you, solid camp, the right people with great knowledge can help you prepare for anything. Again, let's state this. Teofimo Lopez was not a bum. He still can compete and do whatever against some Cody's only at 140. Maybe move up to 147. So let's not act as if belittle what the accomplishment was. Give the young man, I don't want to call him boy, give the young man his just due. Because damn it, he was on point last night. And there's nothing nobody can say to take what he did away from him. Amazing feat. So proud of him because I think he's a special one. And as we move forward and we talk about the next fight, I have another little thing at the end I want to tell you about the difference between his future, and the future of Keyshawn Davis as well, as far as they get ready to fight and move on.
Yeah, and Conor Ben seems to be in his target right now. Shakur called him out at the end of the fight and like, yeah, this could be you too. So sign the contract. Let's go. You're doing all the talking. Let's go. So I'm looking forward to seeing that if that's the next fight. Of course, Keyshawn Davis, he's eyeing Devin Haney after last night, and he had a master class too with those body shots against Jermaine Ortiz. Jermaine Ortiz is no pushover. He has a really unorthodox style, but you could see right away Ortiz kind of felt the power and felt the speed of Keyshawn Davis. Keyshawn Davis, became the businessman again. He took back that title and went in there. And a lot of people thought he was going to have a lot of trouble. Once he figured Ortiz out, you could see Ortiz kind of backing away, putting the high guard up. And then that's when Davis went to the body and knocked him down 2 times with the body and ended the fight with a body punch. So your thoughts on Keyshawn Davis?
Yeah, I thought similar to what happened with Shakur. When you put a fighter, your opponent, in a position that they don't like. Teofimo Lopez, not to go back too much, but he was in a position where he had to come forward. He likes to back up and move away and counter punch, if you will. Jermaine Ortiz is very similar. He likes to wait and make you come forward. But, in regards to Keyshawn Davis, he was like, okay, I'm going to tough you up. And what he did was amazing from the masterclass. He outboxed his opponent and he got the first 3 rounds, maybe 4, right? Which means now Jermaine Ortiz is from behind and he has to come out that shell of moving around and being cautious, and he has to come forward, which he doesn't like to do. But Keyshawn Davis, the main thing that I was really impressed with is his discipline. People say he's a little on edge when it comes to his mental state. I get that. Shouldn't have left Bomac and Crawford's team. Said he was doing some things he shouldn't have been doing, but he went back to whatever his roots were, as far as his family, where he was comfortable. And of course, he said he's connected more with the Lord. But the one thing he did do, he went back and hung out with Shakur during this training camp. And that discipline is there because Shakur is not going to let anybody disturb his peace. That's who he is. He's that locked in. And I think that was one of the things for Keyshawn Davis, which was key too. So he locked in. They both in there doing their thing. And I think that's why you saw 2 young men both provide master classes in what they need to do in the ring because they worked together and they came strong. And you don't want to disappoint your guy. I don't want, man, I know I can't be over here messing around. So they were really focused. And we saw 2 amazing fights. Amazing performances from both of these guys, which I was like, wow, wow. So I'm excited for the rest of the way. I heard him call out Devin Haney. I know we're going to talk about it just later, but I'm going to just tell you, I think that the paths can go any way they want them to, but I think the way they're going to be more successful is if one guy takes one path one way, other guy goes the other way. And you ask me about it, I'll tell you about it. But just watching what I saw, and I've been watching this for a little bit, I think it's going to be very interesting.
Yeah, because Stevenson wants to go back to 135. Keyshawn wants to stay
Well,
at 140. And so I was talking to our buddy Dredd yesterday, and I said I think that's a good path for Shakur Stevenson. I think that's a good path for Keyshawn Davis. It seems like that the 140, and I'm like, he's like, well, won't they fight each other? I said, I don't know if they'll fight each other because it's so close, good friends. I think they want to dominate those weight classes and keep that separate. But yeah, we can talk about that a little later. Another fight that occurred last night was Austin Williams, aka Ammo Williams. His fighter, he was supposed to fight, dropped out of the fight, and he fought Toussaint. And I thought was a safe fight, or he was fighting safe in there because he doesn't know, probably didn't have too much data on Toussaint. Toussaint is supposed to be one of these game fighters who fought a lot of folks, but a lot of people say it wasn't impressive. I'm like, yeah, but he didn't really know this guy, so he's playing safe. Ammo kind of reminds me of Aaron Pryor, the Hawk a little bit, his statue and the way he throws the wide punches. I did mention to one of the people in the stable, his aunt, who I know, and we'll have on the show, and hopefully we'll have Emma Williams on the show, is that sometimes when he throws that left hook and that left cross, he leaves the right down. And then a commentator made the observation that I kind of saw but didn't really think about, is that sometimes he brings his legs together, which is a no-no in fighting and in boxing. And so what were your thoughts about this fight against Toussaint? I thought Williams did well. I think he fought a competitive fight. He controlled the fight. He won the fight by decision. But other people in Madison Square Garden, they're looking for the flash and dash in New York. So yeah, that's pretty much what it is. Your thoughts, man?
Yeah, no doubt. And I can see that. Well, I think, as you said, Williams was trying to be very cautious because he didn't want to get caught, and he did not have really a lot of time because you're talking about 24-hour turnaround,
Less than
right?
24 hours, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. He didn't have a lot to go off of, so he just had to be the better boxer, the better skilled person in the bout. But the fans want to see what they want to see, right? I think too, the other thing is really hard for some people because the proposed opponent they had to cancel, Adamas, 24 and 1, right, with 18 knockouts. They knew what level he was on. And this is supposed to be an opportunity for the belt and whatnot and what have you. But Williams fighting a guy that was less than spectacular as far as talent wise, said he was like a cab driver and whatever, just a cab driver on Thursday. And no disrespect to the profession, but they wanted him to dominate because he's supposed to be a better fighter. But it doesn't always work that way when you don't have opportunity to prepare.
Right,
So I think he deserves a break. I am interested in seeing Williams fight on another level because he earned the right to be there. And I want to see what happens as we move forward. But nah, no, I mean, you can't fault a guy for making sure that he doesn't get caught because he's not prepared, not fully prepared and taking chances against an opponent that he's not really comfortable or familiar with.
right, right. Bruce Carrington wins his fight in an impressive manner last night with a ninth round KO and over Castro. And I've seen Carrington fight before, and I've seen the antics coming in the ring and all that. He was fighting in New York, had the New York Yankees, kind of, drip on, and I'm like, I hope he doesn't get caught. I hope he doesn't get caught with the drip and the, MOP there. I'm sorry, the rap group. And I'm like, I hope he doesn't get caught. But he really put on a show yesterday. I was really impressed with Carrington's performance.
Yeah, Shushu Carrington is a character, to say the least. But I think last night he came in with the right attitude against a very tough customer. And not only that, he fought a great fight and surprised himself even the way that he won. And I think the hype of being in New York, from New York, I think he felt very calm. He felt a lot of confidence once he won that fight. Because for some reason or other, it seemed like he kind of doubted himself about really how good he was and whether he belonged there. But I think this fight and this win really helped him out. So I think we're gonna see a lot from Shushu Carrington. And the fact that he was, as they say, he was in the big room on the big stage at home, I think that was a major win for him and can help him down the way in the future in upcoming bouts.
In our comedy relief portion of the show, you had Jarrell Miller and his toupee at eBay. I've never seen anything like that before. And I text you and I'm like, he knocked dude's toupee off. And so I text Eddie because he wasn't watching at the time, and our boy Dread, and his dreads are real. His locks are real. And so when I saw that, it seemed to put a spark on the Miller. It's like, I can't lose this fight now. I can't lose this fight. And he went to work after that, took it off, showed it to the crowd, threw it, and went to work and won a split decision. But he's going to be viral for about a week or so after this. He'll get some, he'll be on Jimmy Kimmel. He'll do the circuit of the talk shows. But that was some of the funniest stuff that I've seen in a while. It was comedy relief. I didn't know you could put that in boxing, but he did. But he said he was using some shampoo his mama had, and it wasn't shampoo at all. And I guess it loosened the glue. And when he was getting hit by eBay, it knocked the toupee off. And I'm like, you got to be kidding. So you got a lot of folks who have it on camera. I mean, just taping it at home, like laughing. And I mean, he's going to get his 15 plus minutes of fame with this one because this was hilarious.
Wow. That's all I can say. Wow. When I first saw it, I was like, oh my God, are you serious? Are you kidding me? But true to his comic nature, he realized what was going on instead of trying to, it was almost like watching a bad clip from the Three Stooges.
Yeah.
That's the first thing I thought about. I was like, whoop, 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 whoop. I said, are you kidding me? Well, to watch that, whoop, 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 whoop. Anyway, but to watch that was so crazy. But to his credit, when he realized it was coming off and started trying to act like something was going on, he tried to correct it. He took it off and he threw it in the crowd. And he said, look, hell, I'm here. Let's get it. And I said to myself, only in motherfucking New York could this happen. This wasn't down in Raleigh, North Carolina. This was not in Dayton, Ohio, or Goodwater, Alabama. This was straight into Mecca. And it's like, ooh, it's in the Mecca in the big room. Look at this. So kudos to him for dealing with it. And he knows that it's crazy. But I like his sense of humor because at that point, nothing you could do. And every time he got hit, he would go.
Yeah, I mean, and the opponent, Eddie, aka Dredd, pointed this out to me that his opponent started laughing while he was hitting him because, I mean, what can you do? You got to laugh at stuff like that. But, now it's making me suspect of anybody walking in there with a nice dude. Is it real or is it Memorex? I'm not sure anymore. I'm not sure. And why brothers would do that anyway is beyond me. Just go with the ball head, dude. Go with the ball head.
Yeah, exactly. That's the first thing I thought. And I reached out to somebody. I was like, well, I would never ever. If I was like that, we just gone, bro.
Save it off.
I'm not gonna put myself in that position to be whoop, whoop, whoop. I mean, that's one of the most embarrassing things you could ever have. But again, I think he'll probably go ball from now on because everybody will be like, did you check your earpiece? Every time he comes to the ring, somebody asks, can you check his earpiece? Oh man, I was like, now you talk about pure entertainment.
That was entertainment.
And if I'm the opponent, I'm like, I'm coming up with some type of ruling. I'm trying to take my case to the board to go. Did you see that book? How the hell was I supposed to continue? Did you ever continue watching that shit? You like, nah. So we're gonna have a rematch minus the rug.
Wow. In other fighting news and bouts last night, Xander Zayas unifies at 154, and Jacob Banks stops William Skull late last night. So those are bouts that I did not get to see. I don't know if you got to see them, but I'll probably watch the rebroadcast or the tape of it. But any other boxing news, bro?
Yeah, I really want to. I mentioned earlier I was going to share something about the paths now for Keyshawn Davis and also Shakur Stevenson. I know Conor Ben jumped in there. Shakur called Conor Ben out and wants to fight at 147. I know Shakur told him that it was important when he jumped to the ring that they had a rehydration clause, which means basically you have to be at that level. You can't go over. You have to be at that 147 weight when it's time to fight. You don't get to go 15 pounds, 20 pounds over from that standpoint. And of course, Conor Ben, because he's trying to hype it up, said, yeah, I'll do whatever. But they had said before, and he talked to a couple people afterwards, and he said, "Ain't no way in hell I'm gonna do a rehydration clause." Because it forces the bigger guy to almost drain himself,
Mhm.
which is what Shador said. Shakur said the last time that kind of Ben fought his guy because he went up, the guy had to become like really a skeleton. So he said, "You're gonna do that. You need to let me do it you need to do that for me as well." So I'm not sure that's gonna happen. But I'll say this: I think Shakur, even though he could go to 147, it's not going to serve him best to be at 147. And I know he said he can fight. We watched Floyd go up, another guy, Pacquiao went up. But I just think it would not serve Shakur to move to 147 at all during his career. I think he should stay at 140 and or go back to 135, whatever you want to do. But 140 should be it because of the way that his body is made. And it's not that he doesn't have the skill set to do that, but I think he would be best served at the highest at 140, right? Because his body and way he hits, and he'll be masterful, but it's going to be too much of a weight difference at 147, and not sure if his body will ever naturally allow him to be comfortable at 147. Could he fight there? Could he take it on at that weight? Sure, he could. And he could fight. I think he could be kind of big because he's the better fighter at 147. But why keep risking that when you're naturally 135, 140? I think he would be best suited for the rest of his career or whatever at 140. Now, on the flip side, Keyshawn Davis is ready, and I think he can go to 147 and be comfortable. And I say that a couple fights back before all the drama happened, he got into a fight. He was entered into a fight where the gentleman he was fighting was pounds overweight, right? And he went into him and fought him, and he just went in there and he just leveled him. He was just and when you look at Keyshawn, he seemed like a big dude, and his punches are like the way he was rocking Ortiz last night. He was, I mean, the businessman, when he hit him with that first body shot, and that man went down. And Jermaine Ortiz he's a big dude at that level. I think that it's easier for Keyshawn Davis to fight at 147 because he feels like naturally big, right? He feels naturally big. And I think that's going to serve him well because from that standpoint, when you look at these guys, Keyshawn Davis reminds me of Vernon Forrest.
Hmm.
And Vernon Forrest, I saw him in person. He was all of, may he rest in peace. He was all of 6 foot. And it was like watching Thomas Hearns. And I watched him and he didn't have a fight or anything. And he was big. I was like, he's a big guy. And he had to wait. And I got a chance to meet him and just talking to him. I said, man, how the hell you get down to 147? He goes, I just do it. I was like, dude, you big as hell. You're like 160, walk around here, 162. He like, yeah, about that. I said, how you get down to 147? He said, I just can do that. And I said, wow. And when I see Keyshawn Davis, I think the same thing. He just seemed like a bigger dude. He can walk around with that and carry that power. Because at 147, Vernon Forrest was like fighting different dudes. And I was like, man, you gonna hurt somebody. Because he's just a bigger guy, kind of like they kind of been now. If you're fighting at 160, 162, 168, and then you drop down to 147, you just naturally walking around 160s and you dropping to 47. So I think that's why I think Keyshawn Davis is going to be better suited for a bigger weight. And I think he kept trying to lie to himself when he had the issues with the weight before, right? And he didn't try to really address it like, now I was good, but now you had already outgrown 135. So going to 140 like he did and even going up 147 because his body can handle it and he doesn't lose power can really help him, is what I'm saying in general. So I think Shakur max 140 and whatever Keyshawn Davis wants to do, 147. If he gets big enough, 154, but at least 147 is a good stopping point.
In my humble opinion, I don't think Shakur Stevenson has the power to go past 140. I think he has the skills to beat anybody, but that power is not going to translate because he doesn't seem like he has a knockout punch. He'll score. I mean, he'll put the combinations together and score and run up points on you. But that power, when you start getting to 147, 154, and it, to me, he'd be better served. That's why I told Dred last night is that at 140, I think this is his final, going up in weight. He needs to stick to 135. He wants to go to 140 again when Keyshawn is not there, and maybe Keyshawn goes to 147. Maybe he'll make that transition as he gets older. He's only 28 years old. As he gets older, he'll move on to 140, and maybe he'll develop that power. I know his hands have been an issue, so to get his hands stronger so that he doesn't injure them in any other fights. So I just kind of see them kind of going in opposite directions, still being stablemates, but still being in opposite directions and helping each other train. But what I saw last night, Teofimo Lopez, he seemed to be bigger than Teofimo Lopez. I'm not sure if that was by design, but it seemed like in the fight he wanted to see if he had the strength. And I think in one particular visit to the corner, they were asking him, he's strong. Is he strong? He's like, no, I'm stronger than him. So it's almost like he was working on that, being the stronger fighter, being the faster fighter, being first. And like I said last week, it seemed like he knew what he was going to do, and there was no kind of stress. I don't think he started sweating until after the fourth or fifth round, because after Lopez was doing this dance with the Jabberwockies and all that other stuff. And I'm like, this is bad. This is really bad. You're gonna be embarrassed after this. It just seemed like Shakira was so relaxed in there, and Teofimo Lopez kind of figured out, I'm not fast enough to catch this guy. I can't get my hands on him. And his father kept seeing it after round 6 or 7, like, you gotta hit him, yo. You gotta hit him, and he had no answers on how do I get to hit him when, it seemed like Shakira was, kind of backing up at some points. And then he's just stood in the pocket. Like, you have nothing for me. You have no power that I'm afraid of that could take me out. So I'm just going to stand here and I'm going to back you down for a little while. So masterclass, I know they're going to be showing that in boxing sessions and classes forever and ever and ever. But, you had 2 master classes with Crawford and Shakira and also Davis. So it was great to see. And like I said, January 31st, 2026 is going to be that pivotal moment where folks are like, you know what, we want to see more of that instead of the BS you guys have been trying to serve us with these fighters that have no business in the ring, just trying to get money. And shouts out to Turkey. He put it together.
No doubt. And I'm glad Turkey was able to do that. But I'm excited too now because you think about 140, 147 with Shakur, and then also when you think about Keyshawn, there are a number of people out there that they could go after or come after them from the standpoint of, we mentioned Connor Ben, Devin Haney, also too, Anderson Hitchens, right? I like to see him somewhere in that mix. Also too, Abdullah Mason, right? Could be moving up. You could also throw the name out, Gary Antoine Russell. So there's a lot going on between 135, 140, 147. And truth be told, let's get some of these bouts in. I think this was a great jump off from Turkey to get this going and making this happen. This is a great jump off. And hopefully we'll also get to see Boots Ennis versus Virgil Ortiz. So maybe we'll get these real fights we've been waiting for a long time on, because that one, as you said, the master class, even from both of those guys, those were great matchups and great fights. Even though they both were one-sided, it was exciting, it was electric. And for those that say Shakur still has pillow hands, I beg to differ. And last night he did something that was exceptional with everybody that was in there, along with Tiafimo and also the businessman Keyshawn Davis. They sold out Madison Square Garden, bro.
Mm-hmm.
They sold out the Garden. So maybe it took a special fight like that. Maybe Devin Haney will have to be involved in some way or another. But however it comes, it's hard to say now that Shakur does not sell. Congratulations again, my young man. Proud of you. You just keep fighting and keep doing what you're doing. You are a very likable dude. I like the way you go about your business, and you did not let anybody down. Bud Crawford told you what to do. Be special. be better in that moment. He was. And I'm just so excited for him. So whatever he wants to do from now on, I'm with it. You proved the naysayers wrong, brother. And in my book, man is a man that handles his business. And he told you what he was going to do. And at the end, Teofimo was like, shit, he, he's a better dude. Which, kudos to him for giving it up. We're going to talk about that. He tried to make some apologies, but that's for another day.
Yeah. He's Icewater, I'm Puma, and this is the Fight Game.